Good morning, Math A. We're going to do lesson 7.1c. We're doing irregular shapes with variable expressions today. So have out your PDF to write on. You printed it, or you have it electronically, or you have a lined piece of paper. But if you have a lined piece of paper, you're going to have to be drawing your shapes. Here we go. Use your knowledge to find areas of the following shapes. Write an expression to show how you arrived at your answer. So here we have one with numbers. It's a rectangle. So to find the area of the rectangle, no big deal. We're going to go base times height. So 100 times 60. Area equals 60 times 100. So we get a 6 with 3 zeros, or 6,000 meters squared. Now over here, same type of problem. We have a rectangle. It has a base and a height, but now this has a variable expression. That's okay. That just means in our answer, we're still going to have an x. So we go through the same type of procedure. We go a equals 60, but this time it's times x. So we just get 60x meters squared. So the process is still the same, except one of your numbers is a variable now, so we have to pull the variable through the whole expression. So our answer is an expression. All right, part B. Suppose you had 60 by 100 meter lot of ground on which you were going to plant a garden. In the corner, you want to plant a 5 by 8 storage shed. How much area will be left for your garden? Does it matter which way you oriented this shed? Okay, so here we're going to draw in our little shed. It's going to be my shed over here. I can draw it longwise, or I could put it over here. It wouldn't matter where I put it, just in a corner. And it is 5 by 8. So my shed is going to take away 40 meters squared of the area. So to get my garden, I have to do the land minus the shed. So I have to take the 6,000 meters squared of land minus my 40 square meters for my shed, and I get 5,960 meters squared. Now, did it matter where I drew it? Did it matter if I drew it in the left bottom corner, if I drew on the top? No, it didn't matter. So it does not matter how it's oriented. Okay, so here. The orientation does not matter. All right, part B on this one. Suppose you have a 60 by 200 meter plot of ground on which you are going to plant the garden. You don't want to plant the whole thing, just an area of 8,000. If one side is 60 meters, how long will the other side, the 200 meter side, have to be to have an area of 800,000? So I want my area, I want my x, I want to figure out how wide I have to make it. So I want my x, when I multiply 60 by x, I want that to be 8,000. So I set up my equation. Okay. So 60 times x equals 8,000. So to solve this, I'm going to divide both sides by 60. So when I solve it, I get x equals 400 over 3, or 133 and a third meters. So write our answer. The side should be 133 and a third meters. What percent of your 60 by 200 meter plot of ground will be planted? Okay, so here, my whole area, the 660 by 200, I have to multiply that out. That's the whole, so that's going to go on the bottom. 60 by 200 on the bottom. On the top, I only planted 8,000 of it. So down here, I can reduce off my zeros. 8/12 is the same thing. I can divide by 4, so that is 2/3. So here, this is 66 2/3%. All right, moving on. So what I want you to try to do first is I want you to do number 3 and number 5. And then come back and check your answers. Then we'll take what we did on 3 and 5 and we'll move it over to 4 and 6. So right now, pause the video and do 3 and 5. Okay, so number 3, she got 27 yards squared. You could have cut it up and added the 2 pieces. I like to surround and subtract. So I surrounded it. The whole thing is 7 by 5. And then I cut off this little piece, which was 4 by 2. 35 minus 8 is 27 yards squared. Now, when I'm doing this, and now I have variables, I'm going to go through the same process. I'm not going to change my process. I'm just going to change what I'm writing down. So here, instead of 7 by 5 this time, it's x by 5. Okay, not a problem. So I have 5 times x. And then I'm going to cut off this little part that's still 4 by 2. So minus 4 by 2. So here my expression is 5x minus 8 yards squared. So even if you cut it up, you can still do it the same way, but wherever you put a 7, now you're going to have to put the x. Okay, number 5, I surrounded and subtracted again. I made the whole thing was 60 by 100. I wanted to take off this little part here. I had to figure out, all right, 34 plus 12 plus what gets me 60. That was 14, so this was 14 by 45. So I subtracted that part off. 6,000 minus 630 is 5,370 meters squared. I'm going to go through the same process. Now I have variables. This is still 60 by 100, so I'm still writing that part down. 60 by 100. I still have to figure out what this is. And I know that 12 plus 34 plus whatever that is has to add up to 60. So that's still a 14. But now my width is an x. So I'm subtracting 14 times x. So I get 6,000 minus 14x meters squared. If you cut it up, it still should work out the same. Just wherever you put the 45, you got to put the x instead. All right, next page. All right, find the area and the perimeter. So first I'm going to do area, and I think I'm going to surround and subtract. So I'm going to make this a big rectangle. This would be 7x, this is my area, by 14. Then I'm going to have to take off this part. If this is 14 all the way across, and this section is 5, then this part here has to be 9, because 5 plus 9 is 14. Okay, so this little part I have to take off is 3x by 9. So I worked that out. 14 times 7 is 98. So 98x. 3 times 9 is 27, so minus 27x. I combine like terms, I get 71x units squared. That doesn't look like I said units. I'll write down here so I don't run out of room. 71x units squared. All right, and then I'm going to erase here, and I'm going to do my perimeter. So for perimeter, I always want to go around the shape, start somewhere, and then work your way around. So I first look, I'm going to go 14, 7x, 5, 3x. This length is going to be 9 again. Over here, the whole thing was 7x. I'm cutting off 3x, so that makes this part is 4x. Okay. So I went around the shape, and I had to find whatever missing length there was. And now I can write down, going around the shape, my perimeter at 14 plus 7x plus 5 plus 3x plus 9 plus 4x. I had to combine my like terms. I have 7x plus 3x plus 4x. That's 14x. And my numbers, 14 plus 5 plus 9, that's 28. So I have 14x plus 28 units. And I'm going to go like that so I'm not cutting to the next problem. Okay. Let's try number 8. So first I have to look at the shape and say, what is it? Ah, that's a trapezoid. It told me it was a trapezoid. So I have to identify the bases. The bases are the parallel sides. Okay. So now I'm working on my area. I know that the area for a trapezoid is 1/2 base 1 plus base 2 times the height. You need to memorize your formulas. So here, my bases are the D and the D plus 6. My height is the distance between the bases, so my height is the 12. Okay, so I'm going to clean up the inside. I like to combine my numbers. 1/2 of 12 is 6. So on the outside I have a 6. On the inside here I have 2D plus 6. Then I need to distribute. So I get 12D plus 36 units squared. Okay, moving on down the page. I want you to try 9 and 10 and then check back in and see if you did it right. All right, number 9, I decided to surround and subtract. So the whole thing is 15x by 7. But I'm taking this little part. I had to think 5x plus 3x is 8x. I had to figure out what to get to 15x. So this has to be a 7x. So this is 7x by 5. So I went 5 times 7x. 105x minus 35x is 70x. So I get 70x units squared. On perimeter, you don't want to go randomly. You want to start at one point and work your way around the shape so you don't leave anything out. So first I had to find my missing sides. This side matches the other side, so it's a 7. This side again, 5x plus 7x plus 3x has to add to 15x. And these two sides match, so that's a 5. So I started here, I went 5x, then I ran my shape, plus 7, plus 15, plus 7, plus 3x, plus 5, plus 7x, plus 5. Then I combine like terms. I put my x's together. I put my constants together and got 30x plus 24 units. On number 10, I had to find the area. I cut it up. I went, hey, this is really a triangle times a rectangle. When I cut it, I cut the 10. This is 4, so that had to be 6 because 6 plus 4 is 10. So my triangle has a base of 4x and a height of 6. 1/2 base times height. I get 12x for the triangle. My rectangle, base times height, 4 times 9x, I get 36x for the rectangle, and then I have to add them together to get 48x units squared. Okay, next page. The bullseye shown to the right is made of 2 concentric circles. So concentric means to have the same center. So 2 circles with the same center. The radius of the small circle is 4.5. They put that there. The larger circle has a radius of 9. So to add to the whole thing is 9, so this outside part's 4.5. Use 3.14 approximate in calculating the area pi, the smaller circle, so the white circle. So we're going to go pi r squared. So area equals pi r squared. And we know that our r is 4.5, so 4.5 squared. We first have to square the 4.5 and then multiply by pi. So in my calculator, when I go 4.5 times 4.5, I get 20.25 pi. Then they said use 3.14, so times 3.14. And I get about, again, we're approximating because you didn't put all of pi in your calculator, 63.585, and this is inches squared. The larger circle, its radius is 9. So we're going to go area equals pi r squared. Pi times 9 squared. 9 squared is 81. 81 times pi, so 81 times 3.14 is about 254.34 inches squared. Okay, what is the space between the smaller circle and the larger circle? So we have to go larger minus smaller, so we're going to subtract our two answers. So 254.34 minus 63.585, we get about 190.755 inches squared. Part D. Assuming the dart hits a target somewhere, what is the probability of hitting the smaller area circle? So we know that we're going to hit our part of the circle. We're not so bad that we're shooting out here. We can at least hit the whole target. We want to know what's the probability that we actually hit the white region. So we have to go the white over the whole. So the white area was the smaller circle. So the smaller one was the 63.585 over the larger circle, 254.34. When we do that, we get 0.25. So we get about 25%. Okay, next part. What is the probability of hitting the outer ring? Well, if the inner ring is 25%, then the outer ring has to be the rest of it, which would be 75%. So here I'm just thinking in my head, I went 100, hitting the whole target minus the inner circle, 25%. We get 75%. Okay, you are done with your lesson. Now you're ready to go do your homework. Good luck.